Hi, hope all are fine and doing really well. Welcome to the video. So far, we have looked at pragmatic techniques that help an individual be a better programmer. But in this video, we will be discussing about pragmatic teams. So let's start. In this section, we'll look briefly at how pragmatic techniques can be applied to teams as a whole. Before going into the video, let's have an overview. This video includes 7 pragmatic techniques and a tip, which is to be applied to a team to be a better pragmatic team. Now, the techniques are no broken windows, bold frogs, communicate, don't repeat yourself, orthogonality, automation, and know when to stop adding paint. And also, a tip is included. Now, the tip in here is listed at last, but in the video, it is included in between. Now, let's see the first pragmatic technique, that is broken window. So, no broken windows. Just like the broken window in this picture, which is not very interesting to watch, broken windows in a deliverable, that is, the bugs and issues or any problems with it, has to be fixed as soon as possible. Now, let's see how it can be worked out as a team. No broken window says quality is a team issue. Now, see, it will be very difficult for a very active and hardworking developer to work with a team which actively discourages spending time on fixes or issues. Now, that's a great problem. And it also says that teams as a whole should not tolerate broken windows, those small imperfections that no one fixes. Then, how can it be fixed? What should the team support then? What the team should do is the team should support the developers who understand the no broken windows philosophy and also encourage those who are not aware of it, those who are not aware that broken windows has to be fixed as soon as possible. Okay, now quality can come only from the individual contributions of all team members, which is quite clear from the statement that each and every member of a team is responsible for the quality of the deliverable. It cannot be delegated on a single person. The team as a whole is responsible. Now, that is what no broken windows technique is telling us. Now, we are moving on to the next one, which is boiled frogs. So, boiled frogs, I hope you all remember the poor frog back in Stone Soup and Boiled Frogs. What happened to the frog is that it doesn't notice the gradual changes in its environment and ends up cooked. Now, the same thing can happen to an individual who are in vigilant. Okay. And also, when you work as a team, it's even easier. That the carelessness of one person can put the entire team in trouble. Now, how it can happen is that people assume that someone else is handling an issue or that the team leader must have okayed a change that the user is requesting. So the entire team goes into trouble. Now, how can we get over this? Only by fighting this. So simply fight this. How can we fight this? Is one method is by appointing a chief water tester. A chief water tester is nothing but a person who checks in constantly for every new aspects in the environment, every new changes. For example, he can report back increased scope, decreased time scales, new environment, etc. Anything that was not in the original agreement. Okay. Now the team needing reject changes out of hand. You simply need to be aware that they are happening. Otherwise, you will be in great trouble. That is what boiled frogs is telling us. Now we're moving on to the very powerful element of a team, that is communication. So the technique here is called communicate. You know what is the worst project team? The worst project team are those that appear gloomy and reserved. Their meetings will have no structure where no one wants to talk. Their documents are a total mess. No two look the same. And it's totally clumsy. No one will look forward to working with such a team. Now, what is expected as a team? The team as an entity needs to communicate clearly with the rest of the world. People look forward to meetings with them because they know that they'll see a well prepared performance that makes everyone feel good. Now, there is a simple marketing trick that helps team communicate as one. Now, what is it? Generate a brand. Generate a brand doesn't mean that you have to open a brand store when you start a project. No, nothing like that. It simply means when you start a project, you have to come up with a name for it. A name in the sense, not a real name, but something like a funky, a nickname, say Killer Parrots. And also generate an interesting logo. So whenever reports and memos related to the project comes up, the logo can be used. It might sound silly, but it gives our team an identity to build on, and the world something memorable to associate with your work. So that is communicate. Now, moving on to the next technique, that is don't repeat yourself. Now, you might be very familiar with such a picture, right? Uh, a marching band team. The highlight of such a team is they keep repeating the steps without any mistakes. But when it comes to a pragmatic team, repetition is not that entertaining. See, duplication leads to wasted effort and can result in a maintenance nightmare. Now, a method to tackle such a problem is to appoint a project librarian who's responsible for coordinating documentation and code repositories. Now, also, this person is considered to be the first person to be intimidated with when they are looking for something. Since he is aware about every part of the project, he will also be able to spot duplication immediately as it occurs. Now, the third point says appoint people as focal points for various functional aspects of the work. See, when the project is too big for one librarian to handle, we can appoint people as focal points for various functional aspects. The best example can be see, meet Ashwati for date handling issues. Please meet Ashwati, and for database related query, please intimidate with Abhijit. Likewise, so that is how various functional aspects of the work can be divided among different focal points. Now, that is what don't repeat yourself tells us. Orthogonality. In some traditional team organization, it is believed that the closer to the user you are allowed, the more senior you are. Also, in some development cultures, there were strict division of responsibility. That is, coders were not allowed to talk to the testers, who were then not allowed to talk to the chief architect, and so on. Some organizations even complicated the problem by having different sub teams report through separate management chains. Now, it is a mistake to think that the activities of a project, analysis, design, coding, and testing can happen in isolation. Now, they can't. These are different views of the same problem, and artificially separating them can cause a boatload of trouble, which means programmers who are two or three levels removed from the actual users of their code are likely to be unaware of the context in which their work is used. Hence, what happens is they will not be able to make informed decisions. Hence, orthogonality has to be reduced. So now, this is what the tip that I was telling you back in the overview section. Let's see what the tip is. The tip says organize around functionality, no job functions. Split teams functionally, uh, like database, user interface, and application programming interface. Divide people into small teams, each responsible for a particular aspect of the final system. Now, each aspect can be a database, a user interface, or an application programming interface. Okay. Now, let the team organize themselves internally, building on individual strengths as they can. Each team has responsibility to others in the project defined by their agreed upon commitment. The exact set of commitments change with each project so as the allocation of people into teams. We are looking for cohesive, largely self contained teams of people. Okay. Now, organize around functionality, not job functions. Now, by functionality, it not only means end user use cases, it can also be a database access layer or a help subsystem. The same criteria used while modularizing code is used here. We can sometimes find some signs that the organization is wrong. The best example is having two subteams working on the same program module or class. That is organized around functionality, not job functions. Now let's get back to our next technique, that is automation. A great way to ensure both consistency and accuracy is to automate everything the team does. Automation is an essential component of every project team. To ensure that the things get automated, appoint one or more team members as tool builders. Now, what does a tool builder do? A tool builder constructs and deploy the tools that automate the project drudgery. We can have them produce make files, shell scripts, editor templates, utility programs, etc. Moving on to the last and final technique, know when to stop adding paint. Remember that teams are made up of individuals. Give each member the ability to shine in his or her own way. Give them just enough structure to support them and to ensure that the project delivers against its requirements. Then, like the painter in the good enough software, resist the temptation to add more paint. Don't spoil a perfectly good program by over embellishment and over refinement. Move on and let your code stand in its own right for a while. And so, know when to stop adding paint. By that, we have come to the end of our video. I hope the video was informative. Thank you so much.